Oh my god, another one.
Hello guys, can you hear me? Sound check, sound check. Hey, great, great. So how are we doing today? I managed to catch a cold, unfortunately, so that's why my voice is not 100%. So sorry about that, but yeah.
Oh my god, another one.
I'm getting better, so should be fine in a few days. What? Can't hear you? You can't hear me? You should be able to hear me. Yeah, I sound a little bit sick. I know my voice is a little...
Another one.
Got a little cold. So we've been working on our next patch to get important steps in place, and we're planning to deploy that patch early next week. So as long as things go smooth throughout the weekend when we test things and confirm things, we should have a patch hopefully early next week is the plan. Not tomorrow. We don't like to patch on a Friday when the team want to have some days off during the weekend. So we prefer to patch on Monday, Tuesdays, early week to be as safe as possible. So we have gathered quite a few important fixes for this upcoming patch. We have done additional improvement on main capacity. The goal is to remove all but the Mirland. We need a little bit more until we remove the last ones. Depending on how this patch goes with the capacity, we want to remove all the alts as soon as we can. Don't patch on Fridays. Yeah, no, we try not to, because like I said, it's good to patch early week, so we can hopefully have a little breathing room and relax during the weekend and recover from work. Let's see. We have some nice polish as well along with this upcoming patch. For instance, obviously you shouldn't be able to hurt buildings with your fists, so that is something we're taking care of. We also re-enabling the old push criminal function, so you can't just infinite push people around to push people down in the water, for instance, immediately, which have been a common abuse that isn't too pleasant to experience. So we are adding back it's a criminal offense after you have pushed a certain amount of times, similar to how we had it in the first game, to get that more in line. We're also enabling murder account is actually ticking offline as well. We don't want to promote unnecessary mechanics to stay online, or AFK online, macroing online, etc. So we thought we may as well add that your murder count timer is going down when you're offline. It is slowed down though, so it's not as fast as when you're online. But we think that is a good thing to minimize the AFK macroing, etc. So that is one small but good thing. And obviously one of those long-awaited, very much quality of life. When you trade with someone, you finally see who you're trading with. Should be in there earlier, but yeah, it just simply got stuck in between. So some quality of life is going in as well. That is gonna be just making things much easier for all of us playing and trading.
Oh my god, another one. Another one.
We also added some necessary range checks around keep locations, etc., so people can't build where it's not intended to. Is there going to be a fix to people spam guild invite you? That is exactly one of the points I was going to say now as well. So yes, you won't be able to spam that anymore. We know that's an annoyance that some people have been abusing a little bit too much, so we add a mechanic to prevent that as well. So there's quite a few good things and quality of life stuff and improvement, and obviously a lot of bug fixes as well. There's a stuck damage that also happened in this current build that we also have fixed. So there's quite a good good few things going in this. Namnon bags, that is actually on the list, but I'm not sure if it makes it on this patch. But it is on the list, so it will come in soon for sure. Content, we're still adding more wildlife spawners, humanoids in routes around in the world and between cities. So that is a little bit of an ongoing progress. We are following that progression on a weekly basis and expanding on it until we feel that Merlin is, populated in a proper way. And yes, we are also working on co-ownership for guild house owners and stronghold owners, and where you will be able to give access to friends. You will be able to set passwords. We had that function as well in the first game, and we thought that we need it back to give you better tools and control for you and your friends and guilds. So that is also coming in. I'm not sure if it makes it in this patch or the next one though, but we are getting that control in. I can't say if it's this one for ownership, co-ownership, and friendship password, or if it's the next one. It's not fully done as of right now though, so could be the next one if nothing of that goes into this one. Sator bus fix when? So I haven't been too involved with it, but I heard it bugs out, and we'll try to reproduce it or find what's wrong with it. And obviously, unluckily, when we go there, it's there and it's working. So I'm not sure exactly if the guys have been identifying the reason or what caused it. But it is on the list for sure, because we know it's been reported a few times that it's been in a bad state. What can you do about cheaters? So yeah, obviously, as we said many times, cheating in Mortal 9 is something we always take extremely seriously, and it's sabotage both for us, the company, the game, and the players. So that is always a high prioritized order, and we're working very hard on that point. We are fully aware of the status. We're going through all reports and what happens in the game, and we're working very closely with Valve on this one. So there are several updates coming every now and then for AIAC as well from Epic, but unfortunately we can't control the rate of their updates and the different situations. So we're obviously also working on our own layer of security as well. And with Valve, that is also handling all the account status. So we're working on that, and we are eliminating those functions that we have identified that people have been abusing, and we have banned a lot of accounts. Unfortunately, we got a lot of Chinese players that have been abusing some of these sheets and trying to sell these softwares to people. It's something that always happens in an online game. It's just sad and unfortunate, and we know this, so we always have to work against this. So again, we just hope that no one is foolish enough to buy anything of that, because you will lose your account, you will lose your money, and that's the end of it. It's just a matter of time. So we hope that people consider it before doing something foolish like that. Obviously, we have gone to a degree before when we actually banned the region of China if we see that it brings nothing but cheaters. But we do have some partners in China as well, and we have seen a growth in Chinese players, Asian players, which is obviously positive for us for the game. And as long as people play it as normal, then that's fine. So, but we're following the progress, And like I said, we're looking forward to hit the ban hammer hard very shortly on some of the big things. Don't blame Chinese. There are legit players from Asia. Yeah, for sure. Don't misunderstand me. Like I said, that's the last thing we want to do. Ban a whole region because of some rotten eggs, right? Like I said, we do have plans to promote the game in Asia. And we're looking forward to increase our player population in different regions. So that is, on our schedule to do. So we have just taken the first step with Mort Online. We had a quite chaotic release on Steam, run into several steps of issues, as we all know by now. And we're standing, unfortunately, a bit still, having to spend a lot of the focus and time on the capacity, those issues, and also, always working against cheating and stuff like that. So the next step is, finally getting back to the more exciting development, which is more game feature and content. Similar to how we were running things during the beta. It was very exciting throughout the beta. Every second week, something interesting came into the game, and players were loving those kind of frequent updates, and things were slowly growing throughout that whole period of time. So that is something we plan to go back to. Not the beta state, but the frequent updates being on a live state, so players can start focusing on the exciting content again, and move forward from here. And we also are taking the next step to release Mortal Line on multiple platforms. So we expect to have additional steps of growth and enable marketing again. It didn't make much sense for us to push hard on marketing until we got some of those core issues fully solved. And that's what we've been so focused on the latest weeks. And what's great is that we're finally seeing light in the tunnel. Dracosaurus, thank you so much for the subscription. Twitch Prime Capes. It's like you guys are reading my mind on a lot of these points here that I have in front of me. So yes, we do plan to start a lot of marketing, as I mentioned. That's why we're working so hard on getting the core in place now to scale up again, start marketing again. Pierce, thank you for subscription. And yes, we know that there's a very strong marketing step on Twitch, which pretty much all games do these days, and it attracts a lot of streamers and a lot of Twitch viewers in a cool way. We don't do drops that is classical, as you can imagine. We're not doing that type of game, so obviously it needs to be something that fits Mortal Online. And what I'm talking about here is, for instance, game time. Eventually we're gonna start a subscription, so we may hand out some game time. We're also looking to possibly do a cool one-of-a-kind Twitch cape that you can obtain by, looking at Mortal Line streams. Fuzzy Beer, thank you for subscription. So there's a few things we're working on there as well. But the game is not ready for promotion. Do you want to be like Cyberpunk?
Oh my god, another one.
How do you mean? I mean, what I meant more is that when we had those insane login issues where the login system simply didn't work in that scale, it wouldn't make sense for us to push major marketing to get even more people in that insane queue, and just having a flood of disappointed players. So that's what I meant, that we paused the major steps and marketing and visibility to not add more on top of that. Where's the trailer? So yeah, we hold back the trailer as well. We didn't release that when we released on Steam because of the same reasons I just mentioned. It wouldn't make sense for us to push all the big marketing steps when we struggled at that time, and even were considering, with a close discussion with Valve, if we were to pause sales or how we would handle that. And that wasn't a simple process, and we took that very seriously as well, discussing with Valve on a daily basis throughout that chaos. Things are under control now, and we have solved the main issues, and yeah, the reviews are going up very rapidly again, which is awesome to see. I think we hit, the latest reviews were around 71%, and before it, we peaked out at 81 in the end of the beta until we hit the madness. So I'm expecting us to reach those numbers again over time, if things follows the same trend as it's been doing since beta. Untitled, thank for the subscription. Absolutely loving the game. Please thank the team for all the blood, sweat, and tears they poured into this project. Can't wait to see what's next with the game. Thank you so much. And it's for sure, when a team hear your support and those kind words, it does make a huge difference. It is a lot of hard work. This is not the typical standard MMO, as you know by now, and it requires a very certain or a specific type of development, and we are a small independent company that doesn't have the power or resources to seem to go through all the traditional steps of deploying a game like this. Sorry. So yes, we're gonna release Mortal Online 2 on Epic Games Store market as well. So that is our kind of second release step. Again, we're working with Epic Games to make that step as smooth as possible and to support the system in their shop as well. So we're going through that process as well. And we will make updates as soon as we have final information and details ready. Are we removing sieging? No, we haven't added sieging yet. We will add sieging, and it's going to be a very cool mechanic behind sieging. So we learned a ton from sieging mechanics in the first game. And again, we want to make use of all the knowledge and data and feedback we had past those 10 years running Mortal Online in all of these very important big features. We haven't talked just briefly about our key sieging mechanics when it comes to sieging a keep, for instance, that can promote a lot of small skirmishes back and forth that, could be exciting for those that are interested. We fixed in-air sieges. So that is how we kind of, our function to prevent ninja sieging is that so just very briefly again, I know that there are new people that haven't heard it before, but so we discussed this in the first game as well. We never liked artificial on-off function where you can or cannot damage a building. I'm coming from many other MMOs where I've tried many different rules, and I never liked that fake artificial limitation. So we kind of came up with the idea that that makes it more logical and remove that fake limitation. So as you may have noticed, there's 2 supply buildings nearby every keep in the world, and those works as a key for this. So that means if you capture these 2, you will reduce the defense on a keep enough to actually make effective damage. So if you don't capture these 2 supply lines, the defense will be so high that it's gonna be very difficult and time consuming to do decent damage against a keep. So that is kind of our hybrid system to promote a more interesting siege window, or how you would call it. what's the plan on this destroying player houses? So the same rules goes for all assets in the game. It's just that to start sieging a house, you don't have to capture anything. You will do a decent amount of normal amount of sieging damage. So that means to effectively destroy a house, you would deploy a siege weapon. You wouldn't just be standing there with clubs. That will be too time consuming. So siege machines is the way to destroy assets. And like we mentioned before, we want to make sure that we want to promote player cities, building things, and enjoy that part of it. So we want to make sure that there should be enough incentive or provocation for you to actually invest in destroying a house, not just because you find it fun shooting a catapult against a house to destroy it. It would require more reason. Like, this is your enemies. You really want to destroy them and push them back, or they have claimed ground that you want to grab. That's when it could be worth investing in destroying it. So if you're just a solo or small group player that aren't part of a conflict and are away from important land that someone may fight for, then you should be, shouldn't have to worry too much about being sieged, because it wouldn't make sense to invest in something that, you wouldn't benefit from. So we have again, we haven't fully finalized the roadmap that we're gonna publish as soon as we can, but we do have TC mechanics and siege mechanics on the roadmap. As I said, we haven't put it down in detail on exactly where it is. It may come in 2 steps, but we know that you as players have shared your opinion that we know that you're looking forward to TC content, assets, and features and sieging. So that is why we're also prioritizing that in our order of the roadmap. So you will soon see the roadmap, and that will give you the planned schedule for that. But also remember, we're starting with a good pack of TC functions that is the most wanted and valuable. And then there's a lot more coming to that list in upcoming patches. So it's not just going to be one patch TC done. It's going to be a progress over a long period of time, and also because you may want new features or functions or assets that fits and makes sense, and we may want to add that as well. And obviously that takes some time to construct it and code those features that you may want to have that we don't have yet. But yeah, like I said, it's not far away. It's on the upcoming roadmap, the starts of these things, because that's what majority wants. But you can't just stand there with clubs and a lot of people. Yeah, so we're looking over the sieging damage along with the siege mechanics. So the efficient way to destroy something will be for sure using siege machineries. Since we don't have it today, you have an option to club things today. It's not the most efficient thing, but it is doable. But like I mentioned, when sieging comes, that's when we will have more interesting sieging mechanics compared to the first game, and that's also how you effectively siege something. So you can expect to see some tweaks on defense values along with sieging machines. How do you destroy siege machines? So a siege machine can be quite vulnerable if you don't protect it. Specific damage type like fire and blunt have highest impact on destroying siege machines. So that's your main weapons or anti-siege weapons. Offline destroying houses is going to be grief to no end. Yes, and that is why I want to make it clear, like I said before, that there's not going to be a AFK or auto function to destroy someone's house. And like I said, it's going to cost both money, resources, and time. So you won't be sieging a random house in a random location that you don't care about. If you're building enemy grounds and they need land, then you may be a risk of a target. So keep that in mind. We want to promote player cities, activities, and buildings. And when sieging comes into play, that's when, you know, there's interesting conflicts that are, you know, calling for siege, taking this step in sieging. So as Galaxy imagine designer like professional skilled when let me be a barber tattoo artist. Yes, we have barber tattoo artist professions on the list. We haven't reached that far on seeing where on the roadmap this will be. And it also depends a little bit on what you guys want to see first. We try to cover features and content that attracts a wide play style. You know, everything from PvP to RP, you know, in general, very wide. We have prepared everything for barber and tattooist. So we have the system now where a player can go into this state and offer a new hairstyle or beard style, or even change the tattoos depending on the requirements. But we haven't built the system finished when it comes to how you use that user interface and offer it as a service. But everything supports it. It's ready. It's, you know, it's waiting for that last step. And then also we plan to add a lot more of all the tattoos, hairstyles, etc., from rare to common, and also with requirements. For instance, you can't just go get a high cast tattoo from the Tinremic Empire if you don't have the correct standings, for instance. So yeah. Like I said, Fat Duck Gaming, we don't have the data for sieging. It is on the roadmap, the first roadmaps we are working on. So you will see that roadmap quite soon. It's getting close. When we get buy orders from trade broker, it is on our to-do list right now before the roadmap. So there's a few of these core functions that we really want to have fully enabled now before we finalize the roadmap to come. Will sieging be a gold sink? Sieging will be very expensive. There are several components that you need to require before you can construct sieging tents and machineries. And that would cost different types of currencies. So yes, it's going to be expensive to wage wars, similar to in real life. So that is something that you need to consider. Will there be some kind of warning system or time gating when sieging a house, stronghold, or castle? No, there's no type of time warning. However, there are some TC mechanics. For instance, an alert tower, guard post towers that alert the whole guild or owner that there are someone constructing a siege tower or enemies is coming nearby. So there's an alert function for that if you build this function, that is. And obviously you can hire and equip guards to also help slowing such things down. But there are no artificial limitations on when you can attack or can't attack. The only, like I mentioned, function that kinda almost forces enemy guild to start sieging the supply lines when trying to destroy or take over someone else's keep. Because the natural defense value is going to be so high without cutting these supply lines. You can still do it, but that will be the hard, inefficient way. So, you know, cutting off those supply line first, open up that window. And that is kind of like a window where the keep owners know that this is pretty much a minimum time to obtain this supply line and the other supply line. That kind of give you some kind of idea of, okay, after that we're gonna be weak, and we can expect a siege happening at the keep. So I think that is a very good solution to our new sieging mechanics when it comes to the big assets and destruction. What are early feature coming? So you know some of them already. We're working on TC functions and assets, and we have additional dungeon and bosses, and we also have necromancy is one of those, the next magic schools. Those are some of the big things. Will there be plan on having more tames to ride? Yes, there will be multiple creatures to ride. You know, over time, all logical creatures that could be ridden will have that support. We have that system in place. It's just the vast amount of animation work we need to do to have the support behind it in terms of, you know, pure animation. Beastmaster is also on the list now. That is in the close roadmap. So there are several things we want to add on Beastmaster. So in the first game, it just simply unlocked very powerful attacks, and since we're gonna have a lot of powerful creatures, we know that there needs to be a proper player skill requirement and balance factor. There was a drop in the first game where we felt that it wasn't relying enough on player skills. You know, you hit your target and then you were chilling behind, avoiding enemy, you know, damage. And we always said that we are always trying to aim that player skills and player knowledge should be number one, and then obviously gear and support will help you being a successful player or group. So before we start getting to those really powerful creatures, we need to be sure that it requires a risk, reward, cost, and player skills to maintain and control them properly. So you know, that should be a key component. And we know how we want to do it. We simply just need to make it happen now before we enable all those additional creatures. And we'll be able to get rid of house ownership by taking it down or giving away. So yeah, we are adding the trade functions, friendship and co-ownership in these upcoming patches as well. I don't know exactly if it's some of these function comes in this next one or in the next one again. It is being worked on. We know that, you know, we want to give as smooth option as possible and control over your houses. You can trade them and deconstruct as well if you're not, or if you want to, you know, build something else somewhere else.
Another one.
Color picker for professional potions as well as naming, please. We have naming on the list. Color picker, I guess that is determined by the actual components in the potion. But yes, we're gonna give it the option to name things. We're going to fix houses being at a different height for everyone and players being inside of the floors. Yes, we are working on that as well as we speak. There's something that obviously makes players get the different heights from the server and it's not synchronized. So we need to fix that. That is most likely a bug. And yes, when logging into a house, you may be stuck in the floor, which is obviously an annoyance that also needs to be fixed.
Oh my god, another one.
Can you please tell more about Sarduka? Will it get the Arabic Persian style clothes in game? For roleplay, the Sardukans are in that style culture, right? So Sardukan is indeed inspired by Arabic style, so that is correct. And yes, there will be both weapon types, shield types, clothing, and armor types from every single clade in the race in the game. Especially along with their homelands, like Sarduka, the home of Sardukans. Obviously, will promote more of that along with that continent. Just as Lykia or Urmathar will promote more of the Alvarin's gear along with that continent. So yeah, there's a lot planned for in the future. We need a better sound indication on pets and yourself when taking damage. Yeah, I think I noticed that too, that we could make that clearer for sure. And we get the buy order from Trade Broker as soon as we can. We know it's a highly wanted feature that's going to help promoting player trades even further and jobs pretty much. Very valuable feature in the first game, and we will have it as soon as we can in Mortline 2 as well. More looking forward to what's broken being fixed. Yeah, like I said, all the patches we are deploying now, which is holding back on the more exciting roadmap content, is polishing and fixing. So that's been our main focus and target. Even though we understand that it's not exciting, it's no cool news to log into and experiment with our experience, but I think it's necessary to have that in place and have that, as solid as possible. Because like I said, we're also, preparing to, we're soon going to reach the date of releasing on Epic Game Store and other platforms, and, starting major marketing steps again. Then obviously want to make sure that the game feel as polished as possible and the capacity is where we need it to be. Ethan roadmap. Good question, Fat Duck Gaming. I would love to share it. I know it's the exciting thing we're all looking forward to, including me myself. I have outlined the roadmap. Everything is prepared, and we are just waiting until. So it doesn't make sense if I'm flooding the main guys right now to get that finished until we have the current schedule of important patches fixed and deployed, so we can move forward. That's what we're waiting for. And as I said, we have a very important patch planned for early next week. A lot of important fixes in that one, including a very big performance update on the server. We still have one very important function left when it comes to main capacity on Mirland, but we're taking one big step in this next patch. So we will know more what exactly we have left on that list until we can finally finalize the roadmap and share it with you guys. Rendering distance, yes, that is one of those that becomes an available option for us to actually tweak when the main capacity of Milan have been fixed where we need it to be, because that is one of the reason it's set that you only get certain type of data on one distance, but obviously we understand the frustration of getting the name and gear that late isn't really a good experience when it's important to know it. So we know that that is one of those things we want to increase as soon as we have the capacity under control. Many months away for sieging. I can't say exactly yet until we have worked throughout the roadmap. So as soon as we have had the time to finalize the roadmap, set them in the proper weeks, that's when we will publish it, and then you will get, the view what we're looking at. And I don't know if we're gonna need one more patch after this one before we can reach that point. It's a little bit early to say. The new patch coming early next week is the plan, as soon as it's confirmed stable. So we have some really cool plans for necromancy. So we want to deploy the necromancy school along with something suiting. So obviously there's going to be some proper necromancy stuff in the world that you can discover, and dungeon wise, boss wise, creature wise. And obviously the more you do that, the more necromancy knowledge power you may obtain. Will it be too expensive and impractical to siege small medium houses on their own? The short answer is yes. It wouldn't make sense. It would be very expensive and difficult for you. And why do it is the next question. And obviously that next question is up to every one of you guys, right? If this is a house that, house owner that you have a big beef with, maybe it's worth going, around the world to sabotage that house or something. But yeah, I would say it wouldn't be practical for a solo just construct sieging mechanics to destroy a house. It would even be a greater risk for you to do that kind of construction, which means you are weak and vulnerable at that state, and you may lose it all very quickly to any random guy that see what the hell are you trying to do. So it could be a risk even if you're not planning that properly or having enough resources to execute that, pretty much. Will just be able to be shared? That is on our upcoming patch or second patch. Players' houses shouldn't be able to be destroyed. People invest so much time and gold into buying, upgrading houses, and keeping all their personal items, and could just be what? Yeah, that's what I mean. So I want it to be clear that it's not like when you're playing Rust. You jump in, you destroy someone's hut, loot things, and run out, and a quick session in and out. Mortal 9 is an RPG game that is persistent and meant to be played forever. The more played, everything grows, expand. So, and yes, we know that the only way to allow a huge important feature like player housing to be enjoyed by everyone, from non-PvPers to PvPers, we need to draw the line or promote function where everyone can enjoy it. And that means we can't just promote housing destruction easy and fun and rewarding, because then you're exactly correct, Draft Brew. That would mean there would be no more houses in the world, and no one would be able to enjoy those huge, important, long-term features of Mortal 9. So that is why we think the balance is super important, that you need to have powerful standings and resources to start constructing siege tents and machineries. And this takes time, costs money and resources and different currencies. And then you need to execute it, effectively. So what we're aiming at here is that if you're a random guy out in the world without enemies and you're not building on hostile grounds or where people want the ground, you shouldn't have to worry about your house disappearing overnight because someone thought it was fun to siege it. We fully agree to that. That shouldn't be the incentive to siege and destroy things. When we get priests for our own towns and villages. So that is the first pack of TC functions. So what we have on that list is banks, priests, supports, stable, and shops. I think those... yeah, banks, priests, guard post, stable, and store function is the first pack of very valuable functions for a player-driven city. So that should be in the first pack of TC content. Is the alt service going to be removed before sieging? Most likely, yes. Most likely. You seem like you got a cold. I do got a cold. You know, it's been that time where everyone is out meeting again. We are not in quarantine anymore, so people get cold left and right. Our immune system have been lowered due to quarantine. We need to get it back up again. Will there be plug and play for dual shock controls like Xbox controllers?
Oh my god, another one.
So we developed the game in mind for keyboard and mouse mainly, because also it's quite advanced. There's a lot of hotkeys and function you may want to obtain by keyboard. So we haven't really spent any time on supporting any other controller currently. But you know, we will see over time if there's a demand and interest for it. Anything is possible down the road.
Oh my god, another one. Another one.
Why is there no build zone or on keep? It's coming next patch. When do we get damage types beside it too? What I mean with damage types beside it too. So the main damage we have is blunt, piercing, slashing, and then we have magic damage, and then there are several other types of damage that comes with in different situations, like standing in lava, fall damage, eventually heat and cold, specific magic components. Please give us some mage love. You know, I agree. I'm a big fan of playing a mage in these types of game, and that is why I have invested so much design and effort into very exciting magic schools. But obviously, magic will get its love and power and more options over time along with the magic schools. And like I said, we're getting the third magic school, necromancy, as soon as we can in the upcoming patches. That's for sure going to give you more options and love as a mage. And then we have several more very exciting magic schools coming just after necromancy. What about Spider Valley Castle? Is that going to be fixed in the next patch? What do you mean? The stone blocking it, or what do you mean? If yes, if that's the case, then yes, we have those fixed in the next patch. Is the weather sound too loud, you think? we did reduce it quite a bit in one of our upcoming patches. It sounds like it's still too loud, or what do you think, guys? I mean, we want it to be realistic and correct. We're trying to base all these things on real life values. It would be strange if you can completely mute the ambient environment sounds. That's nothing we want to do. But obviously we want to find a sweet spot where it's, you know, realistic and nice for a game as well, and not an annoyance. I see I'm falling way behind here. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit so I catch up. Okay, so we have two things. So the sneak peek, it's not very exciting today, but it's something many, especially veterans, have been asking for quite a while. And now it's finalized, finally. I showed you a work in progress a bit earlier, but now it's finalized. I can show you that one now. It's not super exciting, but it's something I managed to find very quickly before the stream. Let me see if I can... No, not that one. Sorry, guys. Let me see. Okay, here. Bam! You recognize it. Storm sounds too loud when in a house. Yeah, that may be the case. That it's not fully affected correctly when going into a house. Will Unreal 5 provide any improvements in networking for Mortal 2? No, it won't. It will improve level streaming though, and every single time I hear someone streaming a game saying, oh shit, it's the freaking no line and annoyance. Every time that has been said, it's been a level streaming, not a no line. And we know it's impossible for a player to know the differences here. Indeed, it's the Belbos, guys. Finally, it's done. It's final. And it's really cool. I think it's a cool update from the first game. It's a weird dog, pretty much. Very symbolic dog creature, quite dangerous from the first game. So yeah, Unreal 5 won't change any networking at all. It's our in-house built software. But the level streaming, as I mentioned, 99%, if not 100%, where everyone says it's the freaking no line when you get stuck running around and get that FPS freeze. That's when you enter a level streaming. And yes, that is quite severe gameplay wise, and that should be greatly improved, if not pretty much fixed in Unreal 5. There's a limitation in how you stream content and data in Unreal 4 in large world that Mortal 9 is. So it's not optimal. You know, it's there's a big issue in the engine when it comes to loading the data in a smart way. And it results in worst cases, big freezes like that. In Unreal 5, they knew that needs to be rewritten because they want to support big worlds. And we were building the exact same system as Epic were building it. And when we noticed that, holy shit, they're building the exact same thing, and we were quite far on it, we thought, shit, okay, let's not waste more time on that. And then that would be something we move over to and use in Unreal 5. So the level streaming will be most likely highly improved with Unreal 5, which is a very good thing, because that's what you all experience as a negative thing in a game when you think it's a no line. So it all comes down to, so right now Unreal 5 isn't yet commercially final build. They are in a preview, so-called pretty much a beta build. So there are still issues in some areas of the engine, and we want to be very careful when we step over to Unreal 5, because there's no going back when we moved over to Unreal 5. We want to make sure there's full stability and performance doesn't crash on us. That's very important. As soon as those two steps have been confirmed, that's when we move over. We're following the progress and working with it, and doing a lot of tests in Unreal 5 now. And it's in a preview build, so as I said, it's not really commercial finalized yet, which, you know, obviously stresses us a little bit because it's unsure where there may be some issues being caused for our game. So it's still a process, and we can't rush that step, you know, take it too quickly, because like I said, there's no going back. And if we need to wait on a very important fix and it's all in Epic Games' hands, that would be a very stressful situation for us to be in. Would you say weeks or month for Unreal 5 sneak peek? Still very difficult to say. We have done tests, and we are planning how we build our upcoming content and continents for being supported in Unreal 5. So we're preparing everything we do, and we're also talking to Epic Games on the important missing pieces or where there are instability currently.
Oh my god.
But there's still for sure gonna be I don't know how many weeks we may be talking about, but for sure we need more time before we can take the step. Will you be using nanites for Unreal 5? This will be a huge performance. Yes, nanite is one of those very cool things, but that does kind of rely on old tech, even though it's in new tech. And that is something that looks to be helping with performance in certain areas for sure for our game. So yes, we're gonna be able to push details in a crazy amount and still remain in really solid performance. So that's gonna be exciting to have some really specific areas that is heavily using nanites, and that's just gonna push the visibility to a whole new level, and still obtaining good performance, which is always a key for us. So nanites looks very promising. The other part that makes Unreal 5 look like a next-gen engine, next-gen games are Lightning and Shadow system, their Lumen system. That is a whole new system of how you light things in the game compared to Unreal 4. And that's also what makes it look insanely realistic and nice. The only thing we need to work on there is the performance. It can go crazy quite quickly. And again, we want to make sure that you can still run around with 300 players on the screen and have a very reliable combat experience without just totally killing the performance due to the lighting system is stealing 80% of the cost in a scene. So that part specifically is something we still need to experiment with a lot to see what kind of option we have without going down in performance. But yeah, I mean, it looks insane when you use these new lighting systems. But like I said, performance is always very important for Mortline. As you've seen, we have added so much resources to make sure that a character costs incredible little. And I think many of you guys have experienced that out in the wild when people have clashed 100 versus 100 and the performance are not even moving. But when you see the performance moving is when you move into town. So we actually have more costs in different areas in the game world rather than hundreds of players on the screen. So as you can imagine, we don't want to ruin that performance on a huge amount of characters on the screen because of a new lighting system. Unwanted 300 players can't even fix login. What are you talking about? The login is already fixed. That's a few weeks ago, and we had a battle test to actually test our character performance, and we hit 450 players in one region, and we were recording those battles, and that was around 300 characters on the screen, and I was running around 40 FPS, which is perfectly fine in a game like this. so that was impressive, and I think it's one of the highest amount of characters I ever experienced in a game like this, with high visual level we have as well. I've never seen a battle with that many players, and I have played many MMOs in my entire life. So that's one of the impressive feats in Mortal 9. The character costs incredibly little, even though they look insanely good. Can heat detection be moved server side? It is on the server, or things would break totally. No, so there was 40 FPS is garbage. Please don't say it's viable. So, you know, I've been a professional Quake player as well, so I fully know what you mean when it comes to what kind of FPS you need to compete in such level. But, you know, Mortal 9 2 is not really Quake or Counter-Strike, where you rely on that insane Twitch pixel performance without any latency. Mortal 9 is not that type of game. There's always a constant delay because it's a MMO solution. It's over the world network protocols, and you don't have that Twitch shooting requirements. It's more like how you pull, where do you draw your trace when you swing your sword, for instance. That's completely different. So yes, I would say and still claim that 40 FPS is perfectly playable in a game like Mortal 9 and many other games similar to the game mechanics that a game that Mortal 9 offers. If I were playing Counter-Strike or Quake on a competitive level, I would agree that I wouldn't enjoy it or rely on my player skills as much if I were running anything under 60 FPS. Then I would prefer 120 FPS. But you can't compare Mortal 9 with that. That would be nonsense. There's actually a color rule that shows when your game experience will go down due to latency or misses in traces, and I think that goes, you know, when it goes yellow around 29 FPS. So everything above that means you have reliable traces. That means you're good to go. You're good to fight, even though it's not butter smooth as you have with 60 or higher FPS. Have you tested VR in Unreal 5 yet? I haven't. No. Will farming be implemented with TC? Farming will be in, yes, but I'm not sure in what package it may come in. We try to take the most valuable, important features first, such as those I mentioned before: banks, priest, guard post, stables, and store functions. And farms may be quite high up there as well, for sure, but I'm not entirely sure when and where it hits. When can we expect working traces and where items appear as the right item? Yeah, that is also on our list on this patch we're working on right now. So we have fixed, so you actually can see who you're trading with. And that is the second one, that the items will be listed correctly. That's a very much, required feature to exactly see what you're trading with. My one was boasting for having 14 different magic schools, but never actually got more than 4. Will that be the case in Mortal 9 2? So in Mortal 1, it was me and Sebastian, pretty much. That's why things got deployed very slowly, and also because the whole procedure of producing something in the old tech we had was much more frustrating than it is currently in our current tech. And not only that, it's not just me and Sebastian anymore. We have a whole team. Even though we're still small, we are 30 people. But yes, things will progress much more robust in every different categories. In the first game, we had to pick one thing because that's all we could spend our time on when it was me and Sebastian for a few years. But this time around, we have a whole team. So obviously, we're going to work on everything from world content, creatures, character gear, TC assets, and Magic School is one of those important features. So yes, I expect us to keep expanding on Magic School, and we will very quickly be beyond what we had in the first game, without a doubt. Yeah, we have reproduced the issue with tame pets not attacking certain creatures. So now we can finally fix it. I'm not sure if it's fixed yet, but it is something we're working on now, and we'll get it in as soon as we possibly can. We finally know what's wrong. So there will not be a bounty hunter system. Yes, that is the plan. Sorry. Has the necromancy been finalized? It's not finalized, no. We need more time on necromancy. We'll be able to sell armor sets in bags as we did in Model 1. That is the plan, yes, to make it as convenient as possible to sell sets of items. Shall we do a mortal giveaway, guys? What do you say? Before I lose my voice too much. Rain effects when? There is a rain effect, but it's not good enough. I agree. But there is a rain effect, believe it or not. It was too heavy before, and it was quite... It had an impact in the FPS, so we had to reduce it greatly, and we haven't really refined it since then. And we plan to move over to Mortal Online or Unreal 5, you know, eventually, which means we will utilize the effects in a different way. No giveaway. Give us co-owner on house. Co-owner house is on the list as well, so we're working on it. If it's not fun, it will be quite long before Model Line can get rebalance for current schools. We don't intend to rebalance the current schools. There are actually one spell missing, I think, from Ecumenical School, but that's it. They are working as intended, and the next school will be Necromancy. Just use Ultra's dynamic sky till then. Yeah, if it was that easy to plug something in like that Revere TV, there's a whole server-side solution to the weather system. It's quite complex. It's the same system as we had in the first game. So, you know, we need to have both coder side working with the visual effects to synchronize them in a proper way. And we can't just do that, you know, without a proper plan and make sure that we're not wasting time when we step over to Unreal 5 or something like that. So there's two things, and it's easy to forget about it in an MMO game. There's a client-side development and there's a network MMO development. And, you know, you can buy whatever you want to find any plugin, but it will never be used in any way if you don't do the network side, which is like 65% of the whole work. 1 second, guys. I haven't enabled the giveaway. Let me do that right now. I think it's time to hand that one out. I'm just gonna see what we have for command. Oops. Let me see. people currently testing VR for Unreal 5 release, or is VR way down road? So, you know, because Unreal Engine have integrated a very good support for VR, it's very efficient for us to support it. The only thing we need to make sure is how our user interface and all that work, which is where we need to spend our time mostly. And we've done some tests, and it looks very promising. Like I said, where we need to spend more time is on the actual user interface to make sure you see the game correctly. Okay, so you need to type expression mark MO2 to participate in the giveaway. So MO2 like that. Boom. Go for it, guys. I'm gonna give that a few minutes before we pull it. So yeah, now we're gonna be a little spammed in the chat. But I'm gonna scroll up and see if we have a few questions while we wait until it slows down. What the hell, can't I scroll up more? When TC drops and there are two buildings close together, who owns the land? So you will be able to build near your house to a certain extent, and it's more that if there's space or not, and there are also some with your influences depending on the rule you set there. So it's not just going to be black and white where you can't play something. It's near a house, it's fine. And if you have a neighbor very close, depending on your relation with that neighbor, it may either lead to a conflict, or you're fine with that combined close border buildings, or however you would call it. How is Sebastian such a Chad? And also, would I ever revert back to the old fishing system where Kana and Herbes didn't bite on everything, with nerf values, of course? So yeah, we had to do a quite drastic, quick nerf change on fishing, because we saw a huge issue that we had to quickly stop. But yes, one of the downside is that many of those common fishes bites on a lot of different baits that kind of eliminate a little bit of your high-skilled pinpointing fishes. We do intend to revisit it and refine it a little bit, yes. I thought I had an endless amount of scroll in the chat, but it doesn't look like it. I thought that was a thing. I can't scroll up infinite. I could before. Why is that? With dungeons be getting more interaction, like levers for sealed off areas that require lockpicking, etc. Yes. So that is one of the things. We know that there's a huge interest for cool, proper PvE experience and for everyone. Sorry. And it promotes for all playstyles. So yes, lockpicking will come along with thievery, and that will have a big part out in the world. But there will also be levers, just like you said, and hidden things, puzzle-like things. We're expanding heavily on dungeon interactions and bosses, along with the tier 2 and then eventually tier 3 interactions. That's going to be really exciting for Mortal Online. Music provoking skills, please. That is one of our magic school called Harmonism. Will be passenger seat on certain mounts. Yes, there will be multiple player mounts and wagons. Please re-enable Clade Respect. We will add that as soon as we can as well. Will you fix cars passing through walls and up buildings and aggro from a mile away? If it's reported, it's going to be fixed because AI doesn't just go through walls if it's not a broken NAMesh or something like that. And yeah, we have thousands of locations where it may be broken. So hopefully it's reported and our guys will get to it. Any plans for fast travel? Moon gates like Ultima Line. Milan is massive and everything feels so far away. No, we took the important decision that we want to rely more on a lot of player interaction when it comes to transporting resource locations and tactical components that heavily bound to player interaction in different ways and conflicts. And we think that will bring a lot of exciting things for the game that will be completely bypassed if you can just quick travel from one side of the world to the other side of the world and bypassing this whole need of transporting or getting in right location in a conflict or a war. So proper planning and knowledge and supporting all that will be a key component to be successful in Mortal 9, depending on what you're interested in. So that's why we decided not to have moon gates like in UO. And we believe it will bring more excitement and natural world balance when that is actually a thing. Please add keybind possible rebinding left mouse button for horizontal slashes. Yeah, we plan to add more of those options that allow you to modify how you want to perform your different swings with that button click. Will ever be free look when not on a mount? Maybe. We'll be able to craft arrows. Yes, with bow fletching, you will be able to craft your own arrows eventually. The planner buff, rework mounted melee combat, lances damages lackluster, sword swings feel clunky. We plan to refine mounted combat function, yes. And we plan to finish the fall down to the ground state animation that is also important for knockdown balances. Patch, we are planning to deploy the next patch on early next week. We got reports about M2 crashing on Ultrawise monitors. No, I don't think so. But if you have submit that crash report, then it should be in our system, and that one of our devs can look at it if it's something mortal related or something on your system related. We have managed actually to remove pretty much all. There could be some cases left, but the most common crash report we get today is actually, this could be a good thing for you guys to know. The most common thing we have right now as client crashes is overclocked graphic cards. That is causing client crashes. So if you're one of those that crashes every now and then, and you know you have overclocked your graphic card, it's a good idea to try to lower that overclock if that's the case, and see if that helps you, because that's quite a frequent crash that we get reported on a daily basis. One is driver-based bad Windows that is also coming every now and then, but that is by far the most common crashes we have on the clients. Yeah, I use Ultrawise and I pretty much never crash. I don't think I crashed since somewhere in the beta. What's in the next patch? A lot of bug fixes and polish, and a few very important things in quality of life. One thing is a huge improvement on main capacity on Mirland. Another thing is, you know, you can't do fist damage anymore on assets. We bring back the criminal status if you push someone too much in cities, so you can't endlessly push people around. Very good quality of life update. You can't spam guild invites anymore. There will be a offline murder count ticking. It's slower offline though, but you will slowly reduce your murder counts even if you're offline. I think it's around so 3 pushes and then you may become a criminal. Very similar to how it was in the first game, and that kind of, you know, stopped the mass pushing abuse. Computers we add ability to sell armors in bags. Yes, we will do that. I think it's not possible right now due to some of the UE bugs we have that can occur, and obviously we want to make sure that we don't have any bugs until we can do that, so you don't lose things. Three is too low for sure. What do you think it's too low? What do you mean? Do you want 5, 6, or what do you mean? I mean, usually when someone is stuck or need moving, you know, you're usually fine with 2 pushes or so. It worked pretty good in the first game. If you can do 10 pushes, you can, with 3 friends, start doing quite a lot of griefing again, and that's the main thing we want to prevent. Imagine if you have 3 people, you will do 30 pushes and you're down in the water again, immediately drowning, and you were just opening door for a friend, you go back and you're being killed and looted, and just frustrating because it's silly, because you can't get any justice on that. They can't do that now with this fix, and that worked very well in the first game. But you know, we can always tweak it next patch if we see there are issues with it. And yeah, there's a timer, so you slowly get a pushback without getting criminal. But it's to slow down and stop the, you know, apparent griefing, to just push people around in a nasty way. Would be interesting to see the weather affect more than just visuals, such as certain spells become weaker or more powerful. Yeah, there's going to be a few links. So, for instance, elementalism is totally bound to the weather. So, for instance, if it's cold, you can do ice spells. If it's hot, you can do, fire things. And you can also change the weather as an elementalist when you are a master, which is pretty cool. So you can actually cause a snowstorm or a sunny day or whatever you want. And you need that setting to cast some of the high powered spells. So it's a very cool school which ties to the elements around you and the temperatures around you. We also had actually projectiles being affected by the wind, so they actually, skewed off depending on the wind. We may add stuff like that back. Again, sometimes things were just very cool and realistic, but when you played in a game, it may add some frustration if it doesn't play well, if that makes any sense. So we're careful in trying to add where we know this is a high value, people are going to enjoy it, and it's good for the game. That goes first of all. Drag armor on large characters also be fixed to, because you slide into armor when you swing out. Yeah, we know that there's some bad clipping with Draco shoulder pads that we will tweak. Tier Extreme, thank you for the subscription. Anyway, thanks Starwald for the work so far. When should we expect a new patch? So next patch is scheduled for early next week. Hopefully things go smooth in this weekend when we confirm and test things. And then, early next week, Monday, Tuesday, worst case Wednesday, but hopefully early. Temperature should be enough to stop griefers. So yeah, I mean, we will see. Maybe 3 is not enough. In the first game, it was actually enough. It worked very well, and we used that as a measurement. But yeah, we may be wrong. We may need a little bit more, and then it's very easy just to up that number in the next patch. Let's try 3, and then we will see. Will all pets be able to wear armor? I don't know if all of them will be able to, or it makes sense. I mean, the thing is, our system support it. We made a very robust system when it comes to mounts and putting equipment on any animal, as you can see in the user interface. So the main component here is that we need a lot of manpower to both create the assets, obviously, but also do the skinning and animation for all these parts. So there's actually nothing that prevents us from, saying yes, we can support where it makes sense gear on all creatures you can tame in different ways. And also, like I said, we can also allow anyone to mount any creature in the game where it makes sense, weight and size, rule-wise. But it's just all come down to manpower. If we can keep on expanding the team, get more developers on those areas, you will see a lot more of that content being development over time as well. Can we expect the murder count reset at any moment in time? So there's a countdown for reducing murder counts already when you're online. And in the next patch, there's going to be a timer offline as well. It is slower though than online. Can you ever expect to have a second player ride with us as a passenger on a horse? Yes, I'm not sure if horse is going to have the support for 2 players though, but there will be some animals that support more than 1 player, and also wagons that support more than 1 player. Need to push people to get to the bank sometimes. Yeah, exactly, and get out of the bank sometime. We try to obviously improve that throughout the patches as well, adding more bankers outside, widen the entrances, etc., so it doesn't become too much of an annoyance. 8 gigs RAM, it's enough for play. I have good laptop, but little RAM. 8 gigs. It should work if you reduce graphic, memory, everything. I think it works, but it's not optimal. I guess someone in here can share their experience that may be running it on 8 gigs of RAM. I mean, RAM today is quite cheap, and it does give a big, nice improvement for your computer overall. So it's never wrong to crank in another 8 gigs of if you're able to do so. Does it cram you in the open world? Yes, it does. I think. Any UI improvement? Not really yet, no. We're not 100% satisfied with user interface because of a few reasons. The way of how Unreal Engine handle user interface is pure hell. You need to have a high passion and just devote all your talent and time into working on the UI to make it be a killer UI when working on Unreal 4. That's our experience, at least. And sadly we don't have one of those in our team. So it's one thing to design it and it looks perfect and great, and then the struggle comes to make it look like that in Unreal Engine. I don't know if they have done upgrades to that in Unreal 5. I can only hope so. I haven't looked to it. But yeah, it needs polish for sure. Are other potions other than health potions being going to be added? Yes, several types of effects. Breathe on the water, night sight, explosion potions, light potions. So yeah, there will be several types, and then obviously along with assassination professions, you're gonna have a lot more poison effects to play around with. Oh, Henrik, so scared by Medulla drowning. I feel you. I mean, it happened to most of us, I guess, right? Being AFK Medulla is always dangerous. I've taken a quick break, coming back to being drowned. I lost my items, so yeah, not very pleasant. How does it look with the... So we got 708 people in the giveaway. Are we ready to pull it, guys? Expression, I can't talk anymore. Expression mark MO2 if you just join in to participate in the Mortal giveaway. A few more joining in, and then we will pull it. I try to only go FK naked, but you can't always PK. Indeed. It's always with a risk standing with valuables AFK in this game world. That's something to learn and consider. And as soon as you do, things are pretty under control. Peronico, thank you for your subscription. Being able to search for specific weapon or armor types would be awesome. Yeah, we are working on some improvement there for sure, giving some quality of life functions to the broker along with the buy option as soon as we possibly can. All right, final new people arrived. Expression mark MO2 if you wanna have a chance on getting a Mortal Line 2 copy. I'm gonna pull it in just a minute. My wife is unable to play because of an Unreal 4 error that crashes her to desktop. Do you know a fix for this? I have sent screen caps in Discord but got no replies. Would love to play your game as a couple but can't as a result. Frog187, that sounds unfortunate. Do you get a crash report that you can click submit on? Because if you do, it goes into our system where our developers can read the crash report to see if there's anything or what could be causing that. As I mentioned before, the most common client crash we have today is actually overclocked graphic cards or driver issues, Windows issues that causes the most common client crashes. So if you have reported that, click submit, send in when you get the crash. That helps helps us to see if it's something on our end we can do or not. Oh, sorry. And one way is also to try DX11 or 12. One try both to see if that makes a difference. Very common way is driver issues as well. So make sure all drivers, etc. is up to date and that there is no overclocking. Because like I said, number one crash right now, it's so many that overclock their computers, especially graphic cards, which is common, but it's also one of the most common client crash currently. So yeah, it's good to take a look at that. Need to stop smoking. I don't smoke, but I got a cold, so yeah. I'm getting better. Alright guys, are we ready for pull it? I think we're ready. Almost 800 units. Let's do it. Let's do it. Here goes the giveaway. Let me start it. Bam. Here we go. Here we go. Who will it be? Who will it be? Good luck everyone. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go, here we go. Boom, Sitsuma. Congratulations. You won yourself a Mortal Online 2 copy. Awesome, awesome. Let's see if you're here. Oops. What the hell did I click? Alright. Congratulations, Tsuma. Can you send me a PM direct message if you are in here? And I'm gonna give you a CD key that you can activate on Steam. Let's see. Sitsuma isn't there here. Pull again. You think so? No, there he is. I'm here. All right. Let's see if we can. Great. Oop, 1 second. Congrats, Sitsuma. Let me get you a key. One momento. Alright, there you go. Just activate product on Steam and you can download, install and play Mortal Online right away. Sitsuma, are you a current Mortal owner player? I'm just very curious if we got a new player or old player. If you can hear me, Sitsuma. Yeah, I have 2 accounts already. Oh my, so now you got 3. Alright. Will mine goblins be carried over? Mine goblins? Which one are those? Am I forgetting something? Or do you mean the Stein trolls? If so, yes, they're coming. It's a trick question. We have 3 Tsumas now. Do we? Oh. Ah, yeah. 3 accounts. Oh, sorry. My throat is getting a little worse during evening times. Where is the Chimera supposed to be in the game? We are finalizing the Chimera. We want it to be the most spectacular fight you ever witnessed in your entire mortal life. And it will be worth it. It looks sick. Steintroll. Will you be able to equip your pets with armor and weapons? Not initially. So, as I mentioned before, we do have plans where it makes sense to allow you to equip gear on most of your animals in different ways. But every single piece needs to go through a work process and also make sure everything is balanced or working correctly. So there will most likely be time where there will be additional sets added for different types of animal groups that share the same animation sets. Every single creature that have a different animation set requires additional work. So over time, and as I mentioned before, we hope to be able to continue expanding. We should be able to cover more of that over time as well. Can you tell us more about the sibling accounts? So we haven't really got to that stage at all when it comes to looking if the Diva sibling system is something we can pull through with or fits and makes sense. As you know, we focus very hard on making sure that you invest everything you have in your one character. You care about the character and you build a reputation about that character, and it can do a lot more than it could in the first game. That was the number one goal. And also to make sure that we maximize the gaming experience and that you may think twice before you do crappy things on your main character, as it is, if you have one, right? Because we saw a lot of crap going on when you had 3 characters. One you just did silly things with, one you supplied the other with, and so forth. And people didn't care about the character and thought that it wasn't important development depth. So we wanted to change that around to make sure that you can, no matter what clade you choose, it works, it's fun, it have a lot of options, and you should pick the clade that excites you the most. And then you can both go very deep in profession, crafting, etc., but you also pick your action main style when it comes to combat and such. And there's 2 components that we're getting in the upcoming months that will further expand on your character. That is, one of them is the veteran system that's going to allow you to build more skills. It's going to allow you to expand more skills on your character. And then you will also be able to find trinkets, rings, amulets that's gonna further give you boost to stats and skills that obviously will allow you to refine your skill build even further. And with that said, you know, me personally, as a biggest fan of Mortal 9 and this type of game, do like that I have options, and I may want to play a completely different character style. And then yes, what would my option be? To get another account, or we may be looking at the Diva system that may allow you to create a sibling in some way that shared reputation and a name in a way, so you can't just hide behind that reputation you built up on your main character. So that is the idea behind that system that we kind of played around with many years ago and thought maybe that could fit. But yeah, we need to revisit that when we reach a point where we are happy with, you know, being far in a wide gameplay term in, you know, both PvE, PvP, and capacity, and have everything under control before it may be suitable to revisit that function. Will red priest in front of the keeps be removed or deleted when TC priests are added? Yes, those are temporarily. Along with TC, that allows you to construct and hire your own priests anywhere in the world, as long as you can construct there. Then yes, all those priests will be removed, so you are in control where to place them. Drink some water, Henrik. Thank you. Rejuvenate amulets drop on death. I hope so. So this is the thing. Magical bound, soul bound, you know, if you may say, there's a ring. The ring chooses you. You remember that sentence? It calls to you and bound to you. It picks its owner. Remember that sentence. We kind of like that idea behind rings and amulets, because what that also allows us to do is that if you lose something in 1 second, we know that is the, you know, the normal profit and loss, like all your gear, pretty much, your weapon, armors. If you die, you drop it. That's what everyone have adapted to and learn, and you can quickly recreate it again, right? But now I'm talking about rare magical rings and amulets. There will be different tiers, and they have different types of powers. So this is a little bit like Diablo, you know, the huge hunt for different types of rings and amulets, which was a very, very popular and addictive and fun thing to hunt and trade. And we knew that the only reason for us to have a high value on that, big depth and trade and use, is if they're soulbound. So we kind of took that decision that yes, it makes sense that they are soulbound, because they also help you refine your character further, make that perfect build that you may want to do that only can be reached with those additional rings and amulets. So it's additional type of options for your character that will bring many different cool options. And there's a trade value behind it and a market. And that will all go out the window if it's a drop on death. We will have to have a completely different type of use for them. So what happens is that when you die and you carry them, they will kind of lose their power, and you have to recharge their power again, and that's a money sink. So it's also a very important money sink. It's not easy to have good logical money sinks in a game like this, and where it makes sense and is really good and exciting, then you know that's good for the game as well. There are some natural money sinks in the game that is vital and important, and rings and amulets became super popular, and it's like a never-ending hunt for them, and it's fun. And they're spread out in the world in different ways and very much tradable. So yeah, they were a huge success in the first game, so we plan to expand on that, just refine them a little bit, and add them back in Mortal 9 2 quite soon. Escaping White Bear Cave was blocked. What? It's changed in the next patch. Pets die extremely easy. Is this working as intended? So there's a few important balance factors that comes to play here that is coming in the upcoming patches. There's a few important fixes where one specific creature cannot attack another creature when it's tamed, and that is obviously a bug on their reach behavior that kind of puts them in a sleep state. That is an obvious fix we need to take care of. We have identified it now, so we know why it happens, and now we can fix it. The other part is that we have Beastmaster that we're gonna expand on from the first game. So not only does it unlock powerful attacks on the creatures, but you also have to use proper tools in connection with your pets to actually rely on player skills in using a powerful pet. Because we want to rely on player skills, and that players have options to counter these with player skills, and that is important for Model 9. And we also don't have breeding yet. There will be breeding for many creatures that can, produce some of these animals in a more frequent way. And we are also looking over the ability to how you train your pets. We had a service where you will be able to construct stables, and you can breed those pets and trade them in certain ways as well for a fee. So there will be some options to how to work with your pets and creatures, and how they will be more balanced and relying on player skills rather than just click attack on a target and that's it. These powerful creatures won't just auto attack anymore. Along with these functions with Beastmaster, you would have to, you can tell it to attack, and it may do its normal attacks, not effective ones. And if you time correctly how it should be performing the different attacks with special abilities, that's when player skills will rely on how you aim and what range, etc. And also if you have proper tools in place for that. And that also comes with additional risks. So if the enemies, fight off these tools, then again you lost the power of those types of commands for your creature. So I think this is a very good important step forward in having balance in PvP when it comes to using pets. It was quite a mixed opinion in the first game. There were quite powerful pets in the first game, and there were no heavy player skills involved in using them. But we did add very important counters to them, which was completely vital in PvP. But we didn't have the proper player skills involved to actually use them effectively. And that's what we want to add this time around. So not only counter abilities, but also add a player skill requirement for the Beastmaster player. And that's also going to make it more fun and interesting for us playing a Beastmaster, but also more evenly PvP balance. Could add a disallow list for crafters to set on a broker. I don't want to sell to the guy who picked me, for instance, or an enemy guild. That's a good suggestion, and I agree. It maybe doesn't make sense that your first enemy is being PK'd and then they buy your goods. There will be full control of this when you build your own shop, most likely. And there may be option for us to also expand on when it comes to the global brokers. We may be able to hook up some of the values that, okay, I refuse to sell to any with this guild tags. There may be an option for that. It's something I need to discuss with our coders to see what kind of data could we use for maintaining that without, flooding the servers and databases with insane data. But yeah, it makes sense that we may want to offer that control. Why don't horses run when attacked? They used to do it once in a time, actually. And yeah, you know, again, it makes sense that they may run even when you knock off the rider. It may continue run for a while, and so yeah, that there is that level of refinement and balance we may want to add over time for sure. We're getting full access to Dominate back in next patch. So first off, there's this bug that I mentioned, that it works on a dev client but not on the build client, which is a very rare bug in Unreal Engine that we are identifying now and rebuilding to solve it. And then the next step is, before we can allow all the powerful creatures to be used fully, we need to have the Beastmaster check in place, or balance will be quite severe. So it needs to go in those two steps. You seem to favor blue players over red players. Can you comment on this? No, I don't prefer any player over any player at all. I prefer all players in a, you know, huge open world. The only thing we wanna make sure that we promote is options for all play styles and minimal amount of griefing tactics, where, you know, there may be some game mechanic that people or player are abusing in a way which we may not first intended, and obviously that is something we may want to revisit to make sure there's minimal griefing mechanics that kind of pushes away players from the game. I think we all agree that we all want a lot of players in Mortal Online. It may be RP player, crafters, PvE, or explorers, or PvP players. We want them all, and we need them all for a growing, a healthy, player-driven conflict and economy in the game world. And that is why we need all features in the game. It's important to understand it's not made to be a deathmatch online killing game. It is still a sandbox MMO RPG game, which entails all those features. So that is important to know, that that's the game we're trying to make. Will Mortal 2 be available on other stores besides Steam? Yes. The next release for Mortal 2 we're planning to do is on Epic Games Store. We are working with them to get everything in place, and we have a checklist of things we know that we want them to be in place before we do the next round of release, marketing, finally release the game, the release trailer. We have been, you know, that trailer is just awesome, and I was so excited to release it when we released on Steam and see your response, but you know, chaos hit and it wasn't the right time to push on those buttons. So we have a huge exciting period in front of us that kind of continues the release, I would say. We kind of got a break in the main release, which is unfortunate for us, but I think it's necessary we do it correctly and just work hard and get it right. And you know, the release phase will continue along with Epic Games Store release and the marketing steps we have planned for. iCloud system, yeah, that is one of the systems on the upcoming roadmap. I don't know where it is on this roadmap yet. It's most likely not in the first ones, that's for sure. There are some features that we want a little bit earlier. But yes, coloring and guild emblems is wanted for sure. You know, being able to design your guild emblems, pick your colors, and run as a group with your guild colors and tags is obviously wanted. And so we're trying to deliver that quite sooner rather than later. An add-on kite shield recipe. We are currently looking on the tower shield. It's the biggest types of shields, but it's also the probably the most challenging shield we have, because they're so huge that, so just to give a few instances, how you hold them, and because you can be very small, you know, as the smallest Shiva to the biggest Thursa, for instance, that's, you know, require quite the thought behind how you hold it in handle and how it looks. And for instance, will it go through the ground because it's so huge for the smallest one? And do we want to scale it depending on your scale, which is how all other games does it in the world? But again, Modline is not like any other game. Our gear scale is trying to respect the real scale at any time. So for instance, if you're a small character and you hold a weapon, that weapon is going to have the same size as your big character. And that's not the typical way of how games does it, especially MMOs. They scale everything. So imagine then taking the extreme example of a huge shield, a tower shield that covers your whole body. So if the biggest one, you're gonna be completely invisible as a small Shiva, for instance, behind this tower shield. So it's gonna give some crazy situation if we don't handle this correctly. So that is one of the challenges that we need to go through and test to see, so it makes sense. There may be some scaling to make sure it doesn't clip in a silly way. So those are the things, but we always want to try to respect the scale as much as possible without doing crazy things. But yeah, the tower shields, when we have solved those and delivered those, all the rest of the shields should go fairly easy, because they're also smaller, different types of shape, but and we have most likely solved the technical challenge in how we would do it. If tower shields will not be either penalized by movement speed or hidden behind primary points, good luck hitting 150 centimeter Shiva. Yeah, that's what I mean. So obviously this is a huge counter against MA archeries as well, because there's going to be a big shield to hit. But obviously, along with a huge heavy shield, there are some stats to count for when it comes to balance, for sure. Are there plans to add sheep horses for sale by an NPC? Not really, because there's always a huge supply and demand for horses, and there's many tamers out there that does nothing but sell horses. And again, this is a player-driven market, so the price depends on the players. The players set the price, the demand and supply, which is exciting with this game world. We have no clue what you're gonna set as a price. The market drives it, and you are the market, which is just awesome. So we don't want to add too much of NPC prices and products. We want to make sure everything can be produced, found, and created and sold between players. That's, you know, one of the core feature of the game. And we want to just make sure we give proper tools to make this efficiently, you know, between players. Hope that makes sense. Are you accepting the current shield mage meta, or are you still going to add the physical shield spell to ecumenical? We intend to add that spell to ecumenical. It's one of the missing spells that we intended to add, which can give one option to mages to have that kind of defense in a limited way, but give them a little bit more headroom to survive when you have reached melee distance, which usually is, you know, danger as a mage. Dominate is not finished yet, no. There's one bug involved already that we need to solve first, and then it's the Beastmaster function that I mentioned before, that we want to add to make sure we have a proper balance with those powerful creatures. Standing in a pile of water, that is the defeat of many creatures. And no, that we plan to change that, yes. What about veteran points? What would they do? So we haven't really got to the veteran points, but we do have a veteran system, so maybe a little bit confusing to use the same, almost the same name here. But the veteran system is there to allow your player to, you will obtain veteran points, and these veteran points you can deploy them on either profession skill tree or action skill tree. In short, there are different costs when you place them, and that allows you to further expand on your character build. The veteran point we had in in the first game were pretty much based on amount of subscription month. You got points for every month, and those points you can use to buy some specific visual capes, etc. And that was cool, and people enjoyed it, so we may want to re-add that as well. Thoughts on pet armor? So we do plan to have pet armor in general. It's just again the time, manpower to produce something for all the creatures is a huge task. But we have, you've seen the bags on the bears, for instance. So we already have the system in place. We just need to build the actual mesh and skin it. So there will be more over time for sure. Will late gear rendering on approaching players be fixed soon? Yes, as soon as we have the capacity we need on Realland, we'll be able to extend that load. It needs to be in that order. Because they are holding off on Kite Shield until Tower Shield has been resolved. Yes, Tower Shield is the highest challenge, and as soon as those are done and solved, Kite Shield will be much more straightforward. So yes, in that order. We work on Tower Shield right now, actually. They are really cool, and it's going to be a huge defense factor in many cases, especially against archeries. A bit to name our bags. It is on our to-do list on one of our upcoming patch. So we have a list of I don't know what it is, 20 things, and that is one of those. So I don't know exactly which ones comes in this next patch that we'll plan for early next week, but then we have another one as soon as we can shortly after that. We cover quite a few as well. Horse fall distance seems a lot better. Yeah, the gliding bug we had, the problem was that as soon as you started gliding, the game calculated that as a pure falling state, and as soon as you stopped gliding, bam, your horse died, and also on a very short distance. So that gave a very bad gaming experience because it felt like you didn't fell, you just slide a little bit and bam, it died. So yes, we built a system for that, so it actually can detect when it's sliding and don't just instantly kill it. So you can actually slide on a decent level quite far before getting damage. So yeah, that, and we also increased the fall damage threshold a little bit because again, it's a game, it's difficult to see the actual depth and height in first person. Even though we measure it and see this is far, you should break your legs. It doesn't always feels like it when you play a game like this in first person without the perception of depth. So yeah, we increased that a little bit to make it just feel better. Since Beastmaster is such an important skill for dedicated tamers, how long should we expect our class to remain broken before Beastmaster is released? So I wouldn't say it's broken. What is bad is that there are some critical bugs when your pet doesn't attack another creature. That obviously makes it, you know, almost broken in that case. And that happens against certain creatures. You probably have experienced it. Luckily, that doesn't happen against player checks. So, I mean, they're still quite powerful creatures that can be used both as tanks and also in PvP. So they have strong attacks enabled already without the Beastmaster function that I talked about. So what you're more getting is more exciting player skilled options on top with those specific new behaviors or attacks that your creature can do, and also fixing the domination that allows you to dominate those creatures that also should be dominatable. So yeah, it will take some time before we take all those steps in place, which will obviously make it more fully enjoyable at the whole scale. Will the instrument used with harmonism be able to be played without magic? Yes. So that is the day when you also get music in the game world. You will be able to play music. And that is also the key component for harmonism, to use those different instruments. And will we ever be able to fish up Skull's cooking alchemy recipes amongst the other items that aren't Twix? Yes, there will be SOS bottles and some other things that you will be able to find eventually. Yeah, we intend to add back some pet control in terms of setting on defensive or guard, that so it can trigger on certain actions. So that's something we're planning to add as well, along with pet and domination, to give you further options. Can you get better visual effects on corrupt and fulmination? Do you mean on the actual on-body effects? I agree, there could be some improvement to make that more clear. And the thing is also, I've been thinking, this is the tricky part. So in the first game, people were always complaining on that they weren't real projectiles, the ecumenical spells. And it's because you saw them flying like a homing missile, and people complain about that. And we were trying to explain that, look, they are not real projectiles because they're not meant to be. It's meant to be an on-action effect where they fly there, and we had a homing effect because it looked cool. Now we decided now we're going to fix that confusion. We're not going to make it look like a broken or homing projectile because people are going to complain. You should make it a real projectile, people said. And instead of going there with confusion, we removed it. And that is why you see like an instant effect on a target. But I do agree and feel that there's a disconnect and a little bit confusion on what's going on, and also not as exciting and appealing to see a cool effect flying. So it's a double-edged sword, if you see what I mean here. We don't want to go back to the never-ending complaint that it should be real projectiles. I've been thinking of doing like more an instant effect trail, so it doesn't feel or look like a projectile, but still adds more impact value and bam, you know, satisfaction, and also better identification of what's going on, who shot what spell at who. Do you see what I mean here? So that's something I've been thinking about, if we should have that like a instant trail or something, you know, something that shows that I'm shooting you. Everyone can see it quite easily without being a real projectile flying over time, because then again people will be confused, because there are many other schools that will have real projectiles and they will behave like a projectile and look like a projectile, so it makes sense. So I want to try to make that clear, that distinction clear on the different schools. But I agree. I mean, many of you guys have pointed out that it feels a little unsatisfaction with the actual effect and feeling of it. And I agree. I agree. It's also a little bit unclear. Did he shoot it, on what, and who's shooting me? So I was thinking like a smoke trail or something, kind of, that this spell effect traces you very quickly and effects goes on you, but you can see some kind of trail that shows that I shot that effect at you. You see what I mean? Does it make sense? Gold Factory, thank you for the subscription. And that will also add to the feeling of, you know, I have a cool effect, it feels nice, and it's clear. Because feedback and visuals are important in these types of games. It also adds a lot to the feeling, right? So I think it could help increase the impact and feeling as well, and also clears a little confusion. Sounds good to me. Can you add more trail to arrows while you're while you're at it? You think there should be even more of this fake gray trail when after an arrow? We did add it because we know that it's almost impossible to see it, and you know, that's how you do it in game to make it, you can see what's going on. It's really cool also to see arrows flying around, but we also didn't want to go too far so it looks like any of those traditional theme park games where you shoot rainbow effects left and right constantly and everything is faked and no real projectiles calculations. Do many of you guys think we should increase the trail effect on an arrow? Because I think it's quite subtle, but it's quite clear to see when arrows flying. It looks cool. Wow, shit, was that arrows flying? And it's not too apparent with this gray trail flying like in all other MMOs. Arrows are fine. No. Yeah, I thought so too. So I'm happy. Looks like we're on the same page. Yeah, right, that's good. We need fire arrows. That we do. And that will also be an important component along with sieging and TC. So I think the fire arrows will arrive along with one of those patches. Fletching when? I don't know yet when fletching is actually. We have quite a list to go through on our upcoming roadmaps, and obviously it's not just one roadmap we are making here, right? We have several months of work with the upcoming roadmap. So, but there will be something exciting in every single patch, and then, you know, big system in some of them. Is Samal in action now or still being worked on? No, subscription have not yet been activated. So the free month that everyone has haven't started yet. So everyone is still on the free, before the free month, so to say. Sorry. I think it would be cool to get a trail on spells when they are out of range too. Will help gauge how far out of range you were. Yeah, I've actually been thinking about that as well. So when people run around, shit, and people curse, they were out of range or missed the target. It's hard to say which in the madness, and you know, everything that is a bad experience or you feel frustrated or unsure of what's going on. You know, in short, bad feedback. As soon as there's room for improving that feedback, that feature will grow in quality. So yes, I've been thinking quite a lot about how we could improve the feeling and feedback behind what we have currently, and also to make sure that we do that even better in upcoming Magic schools, and think everything through, especially when they have the different rules. But yeah, I'm not 100% happy with the ecumenical feedback impact effects, because it's hard to say, how to read, and it doesn't feel very powerful when you don't see that bam going over there. But like I said, I still don't want to have the same kind of slow projectile as it was in the first game, because 99% of all players always complain that it should be a real projectile because it looks like a projectile. And that was a never-ending story. So I thought this time we're not gonna do the same mistake.
Oh my god, another one. Another one.
Argument is always low on stamina resource. Is it bugged? Never hungry enough. Shouldn't be bugged. If you need very effective stamina resources food,
oh my god,
you should fill them quite quickly.
Another one.
Again, the question, and any plans on adding visuals for rings and amulets for characters, like seat, like armor or effects on it, like sparkly or shiny magic effects? I'm not sure. It comes down to the cost here. So, as you know, we have a very high performance, low cost, very high optimized on our character system, and that is one of the key factors, because we want to, be able to offer hundreds of characters fighting on big battles over the years. And the more things you add as separate objects and render counts on a character, the multiple render paths you're adding on a scene, and that eats FPS. So that is more a question for my main tech guys to see, can that be done in a clever way without eating frames per character? If the answer is yes, then yes, we want to show as much as we can that you actually carry. But also, if you imagine if you have a ring on your finger or an amulet on your neck, most cases when you're out in the world, you have armor on you and gloves on you, which means you will never see them anyway, right? So I'm not sure yet how we're going to handle that, if we want to show them visible when you actually remove your gloves, or if it's not practical or reasonable for us to do. Growth food. Why is it so expensive? I've been trying to fix my character height. Why it's expensive? You have to ask the players. Everything is player driven, and it's all a matter of knowledge and trade. Fix invisible weapons. Yes, that is on our to-do list. One of those nasty bugs, and also one of those very difficult ones. we can't reproduce it. No player have been able to help us to reproduce it. It just happens very rarely, every now and then. And that's one of the worst bugs we can have, when we have no clue why it goes wrong. It's quite a complex system. There's many steps, and obviously we've gone through them many times just to make sure there's no mistake. So it's been a struggle, but it is on our high bug lists to try to secure it somehow if we simply can't. Which bug? The invisible weapon bug. You may have seen a player running around with his sword on the back and he's swinging an invisible sword. Quite annoying. We have tried to reproduce that for quite a time now, and we asked the players for help if they managed to figure it out, but no success so far, which means it's quite time consuming for us just to try to go through the codes and secure those steps without really knowing where it may go wrong. So if anyone know how to, that is very helpful for us. Obviously we're still working on it to secure it. We have some ideas how we could possibly secure it without having an exact reproduce of that bug, because it's super annoying, so we just simply need to fix it anyway. But like I said, if anyone knows, that is very helpful, because then we can pinpoint it very quickly. It could be anything. So yeah, but like I said, we have a idea how we can secure it anyway, most likely. But like I said, it doesn't hurt to ask if anyone out there may figure it out or want to test around and manage to stumble upon something. Make bows more OP and even easier to use. What? Who's making bows more OP? We don't plan to buff bows. We plan to add wobbling on mounts, which is very important, and the whole breath skill function, and that is two important improvements for archery and mounted archery. Please get rid of all Chinese hackers at the mini dungeon. We are banning multiple accounts on a daily basis, and we are also working to secure the source of that issue. So we're working very closely with Valve to prevent that from a possibility. Yeah, unfortunately, it steals a lot of development time from us, but it's necessary because we always need to prioritize that. So yeah, we are banning a lot of accounts and items, and we are filling those holes and making sure it's not going to be possible anymore. There's a website selling gold. Yeah, I mean there's been websites same for all games or even Modline for many years. There's a thing also. Many of these so-called, I don't know what to call them, groups of cheaters, hackers that tries to make a living on these things. That is why there's a market for it. If there's a market for it, people are gonna do bad things. So the sad thing is when people is buying some of these software, that means they will try to continue doing those softwares. And in many cases, some of these groups, if they're unsure of the interest, if there's going to be a decent market for it, worth it spending the time for them, you quite usually put out website without having any in stock. We have tried it ourselves quite a few times and said, can I buy some gold? And they say, and there's no stock, sorry. And when it reaches a certain amount of demand, that's when we start trying to do the crap to try to sell stuff. Obviously, this is against the rules, and we're doing everything we can to prevent it, stop it, and eliminate it. So we know there are some of those sites, why some of them are not active. We know also that some of that thing is going on, and that is what we're working against now, to ban, eliminate, and prevent it from actually working at all, some of those softwares. Oh. All right, guys. I'm feeling a little bit sick now. I don't want to sound too, what do you say, snarly in the microphone. My nose is getting a little thick, or what's it called? I tend to get a little fever when it's getting late and early, and I feel my head is a little bit warm right now. But yeah, I think this is a good time. We're almost at the 3-hour mark. I see. Time flies always, guys. It's almost 3 hours. Multi-combat isn't viable. Yeah, we know that there are some tweaks we want to do on mounted combat to get some more viability for sure. And also a very important component factor missing there is the knock down to the ground. So you actually fall down to the ground and have to stand up again before you can do any action. So, and that's going to be quite impactful for mounted combat. So that is one of the things that we want to get for sure as soon as we can. Thanks for making the best MMO ever. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Invisible weapon bug could be a dismount weapon switch error. That's the thing. We tried everything with a mount. Everything we can possibly do. But if you manage to reproduce it, I'm gonna give you a reward because that helps us. But yeah, it's a trick one. But like I said, we are going through it to secure it anyway. So I think we're gonna have it solved either way. Just that it takes a little bit more time when we can't really reproduce the issue. Borderlands 2 are the best game ever. Thank you, Agmir. Thank you. Very happy to hear that. I fully agree. This is my absolute favorite MMO game. And I'm playing every now and then when I can, just as a normal player. And I have a blast every time. It's really fun as well to engage with you guys in game as a player. We increase player animation, combat animation range. We will increase it again, yes, when we have the capacity on the control on the Milan server. Please fix the keep. I'm not sure exactly what keep. I'm not really involved there, but I'm sure you have contacted support and they have it on their table, I hope. Yes, knockback is needed right now. Yeah, we need it. Integrity keep. All right, but I think you are reported, right? So our guys are aware, so they have it on their table. We'll be able to manage the other players' pets beside our own. Maybe we have considered it. We have to consider what kind of impact it may have, but yeah, maybe. I mean, it worked in Ultima Line, and I played that for many years, so it may as well work fine for us, right? Night vision isn't enabled yet. It will be enabled soon. So sieging will be on our upcoming roadmap. TC content and sieging mechanics. Stain, with the subscription, you guys rock. That's all. Thank you so much, Stain. Thank you. 5 months. Henrik, have you ever slaughtered me in game? ETEC. I'm not sure what is your character name. Can you get a better visual effect for cropped information? Yeah, I think there's room for some improvement there for sure. Oh my god, another one. Even Nomas Yun. Greg MO with the with the 5 gifts. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Very kind of you. When urgent issues are resolved, will you stream gameplay? I may, for sure, stream some gameplay. The thing, obviously, I have to consider is I want to play Mortal 9 just as a normal player and enjoy the game as much as is possible. And yeah, I may as well stream that partly as well. I will consider it. I'm playing with a few real-life friends and we're having a blast. They are new to the game, so they're learning. And obviously, I know that streaming those sessions may also attract some players that want to show their might, so to speak. So I need to consider that. But so our plan is to... we plan to have some really cool events in the future on upcoming streams. So there's going to be some variation on these streams, on the Thursday streams, from events to different types of giveaways, you know, some big giveaways that we did previously, to gaming session and game events. And so, you know, we're planning ahead with some interesting stuff. So hopefully that would also be exciting for you guys to tune in on any of those streaming planned schedules. So we will see. Diamond Talks TV, thank you so much for the subscription. 2-month streak. Please fix image weapon. Yes. As I mentioned, that is on our list. We're doing secure step, even though we can't reproduce it. We most likely know that if we do certain steps added to that system, we may finally solve it either way. And yes, any hackers, you know, you guys are doing a good job reporting them, so we can more quickly act if there's something we haven't catched already. And we are banning quite a few accounts on a daily basis. And like I said, we're working on the source issue of that as well to make sure that such hack doesn't work anymore, along with Valve. And we're setting up some system in place that's gonna battle that very hardly, so we can't wait to get some of those things in place. But yeah, sadly that's some of the things that we always have to work on, because the nature of online games. Though to do when streaming sometimes. Tough to do when streaming sometimes. Indeed. So obviously I need to consider, I won't risk anything we can't afford to lose if I were to stream when we do something in game. Or I could do like we did throughout the beta. I log into the game and you guys can tag along and we can do some crazy stuff. That's been very fun throughout the beta. Sometime we went to the Spider Queen trying to do some boss fights, and then obviously guilds may clash with us and mayhem happens, but you know, I'm down for everything. That's always fun. So maybe something like that we can do as well. King of the Tindermean. I'm not sure. Record your session and post to YouTube rather than stream live. I can do that as well, but like I said, I do enjoy engage with the community and also with the players. So if you guys want to tag along with one of those in-game sessions, there can be some interesting and exciting happenings for sure. But do come with the risk in mind that entail. All right, guys. We hit the 3-hour mark today, and I feel that my throat is feeling more and more itchy when I talk much now when I have this cold. But yeah, again, it's always a blast, guys, to hang out, and we're gonna do some interesting planning, like I said, for upcoming streams, and yeah, maybe some in-game sessions as well soon. Let's see, do we have anyone online we wanna do a little raid to Sorry, I'm dying here. Woo! Guys, do we do a raid to someone today before I pass out? Tamers need Pokeballs like Ark did. Pokeballs. Ta en kopp te och krya på dig. Indeed. I need a cup tea and some honey. Let's see, who's online? Who's online? Is there anyone? Yeah, there's quite a few that I haven't done a raid to, right? So we have the classic streamers, Jonah, Starderky, Pizza Guy, Vineyard Rift. I think I've given all of those raid before, right? So I don't think I've given J45K or Ronus MC. Have I done Ronus? I've seen he's streaming a lot, so shall we do Ron? What do you think, guys? I've tuned in Ron's a few times, and he seems to be a very chill guy. Been playing and streaming quite a bit. I've done one to Vineyard, if I'm not mistaken, as well. He's also a really nice guy. But I don't think I've done Ron USMC. Should we do Ron? Seems like a cool guy when I tune in before. Let's do Ron. All right. Run this time. I'm gonna find my little raid button. Where do we have it? Oh, my nose. There we go. All right. Let's do Run this time. Run. There is. Right, guys. Hate Run. How rude. Raid Starderky. I did Starderky like 2 times ago. I tried to do a little rotation. Run. I tuned into Ron one time, and he seems to be a very chill guy, very nice. So I wanted to pass it along before we rotate again or something. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for all the subscription, question, and your support. That makes a huge difference for us, and we are very, very soon reaching the exciting development again, so we can go back to those exciting updates on a frequent base that we had back in the beta, where everyone was excited every second week. We're finally getting close to that. So we have a very important patch early next week. We're looking forward to do, and then we're one step closer to the roadmap. So again, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. It makes a huge difference, and we'll keep doing this as long as you want to. All right, have a good night, and I will see you next week. And let's do a raid to Run. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good night. All right. Bye-bye.